right, we are back with another episode 37, and I guess it's kind of a sad one. We have another season recap, but it's basketball edition. But, we got a big episode today. Obviously, I just hinted at it. The Lakers season is over. We will get into all of that. We'll touch on the rest of the playoff games in the NBA. And oh, by the way, the NFL draft took place last week. So the Cowboys and the Dolphins, I don't know, man. We gotta see how our teams did post draft analysis. But as usual, we gotta start with the basketball team of the pod, the Los Angeles Lakers. So obviously, we're recording Monday night. Denver wins the series 4-1, instant classic again in game five. I don't know if I was watching game two on repeat, but that's kind of what it felt like in some degree. But, with games three and four taking place this past week, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Laker fan. We'll kind of go through this a little quicker, but what were your initial thoughts, games three and four? Give us the quick rundown so we can get to game five.
Yeah, so I mean, game three, another disappointing one. For me, it was the effort really that I saw in game three. Um, you know, Finally back on your home court, with a chance to bounce back, really, right? And just disappointing efforts from the supporting cast once again. I mean, I know Austin Reeves had 22, but Rui 5 points, minus 12 overall. D'Lo, I mean, he
He
comes
stole
off
the show
that,
that game.
he comes off of the game too, right? Where it's like, okay, he's ready, he's ready to silence those playoff critics. Um, and then to show up on your home court and put up nothing. Uh, it's one thing to not have it going from three, but a guy that talented and, someone we rely on to be the third option, on some nights, I would say it's split between him and Reeves for the most part, but you know, it's not he has enough impact on the team to where we can't expect him to score 0 points and win the game. Like honestly, he's just too important of a player offensively because I mean, you know, I do feel like the whole team stepped up defensively and elevated their play defensively in this series as opposed to what we're used to seeing in the regular season. We know D'Angelo Russell is not a trademark defender, perimeter defender for anything, right? Um, so you really rely on his offense and his playmaking to get going. And I mean, two assists, you know, 0 for 7 from three, couldn't even get a field goal, I mean, sorry, a free throw. That's just disappointing. That cannot happen. That's all there really was to it. I mean, yeah, I
Well, I
just
think the
speechless
key the
in that
key
one.
for that game, I'll throw in this comment, and this is like after game three. They showed the clip of D'Angelo Russell on the bench. I think it was late in the game. The game was over, I think, score wise, but kind of a bad look for a key rotation player for the Lakers. It looked like he was like eating something on the bench
Yeah.
while everybody else is in the huddle. It's like, oh, like that's not a good look. I mean, you're playing the defending champs. Like that's a sign of quitting right there. And I think even I told you I was like, okay. I think we both agreed. It's like, man, if they lose game three, they're gonna get swept. And after seeing that, I was like, I'm pretty confident they're gonna get swept because
I
that's
agree.
like they lost the locker room in that sense. But I guess game four, they cleared the air. I don't know what it was, LeBron, AD, Magic, but I don't know. What did you think about game four that they somehow pulled out a win finally after what, 11 straight losses?
Yeah, I mean, at least they had some pride, right, to not go out, um, get swept two playoffs in a row by the same team. At least they showed up. So, I was telling you after this one, I actually texted you during the game, right? Because you were saying, "Oh, here we go." another double digit
They're up.
lead.
Yep.
Um, same story, same thing's gonna happen. But I told you no, they're winning this one. And the reason I felt that way is because of how they were playing defensively in that one. In that game three, didn't bring it up, but Aaron Gordon, right, was really the star for Denver. I mean, he had 29 points off of the back cuts, the dunks, easy buckets, right? And finally, the Lakers made, defensive rotations to take him away. And I just thought they did a good job on, Jamal Murray for the most part as well. Michael Porter Jr., we'll get to him later. He was hitting shots the whole series, but you know, I mean, they did a good job on Jamal. He didn't hit a three that entire game four. And I felt like LeBron and AD really had it going. And then, D'Lo finally had it going in that one as well. He hit four threes, got 21 from him and Austin Reeves. So just it was a good bounce back again. A little bit frustrating. We don't have a little bit more consistency with D'Angelo throughout these playoffs, but at least they didn't go out sad and get swept on their home court by the same team two playoffs in a row. So I guess there's something. There's like that's like the I don't know the caveat to this whole thing.
It's a veteran leadership by LeBron James and Anthony Davis. I think that's a huge part. Anytime the GOAT is on your team, I feel like you're like not necessarily everything's about him, but it's like you understand the circumstances of one, LeBron James just so happens he's on the most historic franchise in basketball. It's like you can't make him look bad too as well and tarnish the Laker like aura, right? So I feel like there's a sense of pride as professional athletes, as competitors. Like, you know, it was they were due. They lost 11 games in a row to the same team. Like, who does that? Like, so I'm glad that they were able to get a win. But every time you get a win in the playoffs, fans, maybe players, even coaches, maybe you start to overreact a little bit. It's like, oh, if we get one, and then maybe we can get another one. It's like, oh, we come back home, check home court, and then oh, it's game seven, just like that. So I think there's that little athlete delusion that takes place. So they won game four. Oh, 3-1. Can LeBron be the first player ever to come back from 3-0? Like there's all these narratives surrounding the Lakers after one game. But it's like people forget that they're playing the Denver Nuggets. Like a win in five is typically how teams want to win. If you have home court, you defend the first two, get a split on the road, and close it out in five. That's kind of like I would say if you're the home court advantage team, that's kind of how things play out. But we'll talk. Let's. I think that's a good transition to go to Game Five, since this will probably be the bulk of of conversation. But I would say this started from the pregame. I would say the theme of this game was injuries. If you agree with me on that one, because pregame there was news from both sides. The Nuggets had a questionable player in Jamal Murray. It was a kind of a last game time decision, but he was questionable. He ends up playing. And then the Lakers going into the game, I saw Jared Vanderbilt was listed as questionable and he was dressed and active. So I'm like, okay, this this is huge for them. But I mean, I don't know what you were thinking, but I was like, this is pretty important because I thought he could have made an impact, and maybe we'll talk about it later when we get to the season recap. But I don't know. I thought to start, I was like, man, I want to see Vando in that first quarter. And there was nothing. So I don't know if you thought the same thing as I did, but I thought he should have been in there from the first timeout or the first substitution rotation. Did you think that?
Yeah, I mean, kind of hard to say how they were gonna use him because we really didn't know much about his injury status. I know he was dressed um and able to play. I expected him to play at least a couple minutes if he's gonna dress. I don't know if because mind games don't do anything for you in basketball, at least in the
No.
injury, you know, situation. It's not like, football, for example, where you can line up a guy who's not really healthy, let's say at receiver, right? And he can just be a threat, just his presence standing in, whatever position he's in. So I thought, okay, well, if you're going to list him as active, right, at least give him a couple minutes, or I was thinking, possession kind of to end the quarter on defense, you know, just as a defender or a rebounder, in certain situations. That's kind of what I was expecting. Or I was thinking, okay, Jamal Murray, first of all, going into this game banged up, right? To go along with your whole injury um, theme of this game. So I was like, okay, well, even better, you know, you got to try to wear him down as much as you can because he's not playing at 100%, right? And that is going to factor, or at least I thought it would factor, into his performance, especially later in the game. So I'm like, okay, if you're not going to blitz him right off the jump, right? Maybe after halftime, going into the game, third quarter, okay, send Vando, Gabe Vincent, these guys pick up full court, press him every single time he gets the ball. Just to get a little bit more wear and tear out of him throughout the game. So and that's really what I thought was gonna happen. I haven't gotten a chance to hear any of the interviews. Unfortunately, didn't hear Darvin Ham, didn't hear Vando's exit interview on the season yet. So I don't know why he didn't play. I'm sure it came up. I'm sure one of the reporters was able to ask it. I haven't heard it personally yet. So I will be looking forward to seeing that. It's just confusing as to why they would even dress him and clear him to come back if he's not going to play at all in do or die, win or go home situation. I just don't quite understand that.
Yeah, and I think we'll get to it later when we talk about the end of the game, Darvin Ham, etc. But I thought that was a huge thing to start. And then really for the first half recap, I thought, in my opinion, this was a not a typical Lakers Nuggets first half, but it's like as a Lakers fan or someone that's cheering for the Lakers, I thought this was a great first half for them to be in. Denver was, I thought they were kind of sloppy with the basketball, kind of gave them, extra chances here and there. But as the road team, when you're facing elimination, you just want to have a puncher's chance. And for them to have the lead, I thought that was huge. And I don't know what you were thinking at the half when you thought, when you saw the score, but my opinion was this is right where you want to be. And I thought they had him. I thought they had him. I don't know. Maybe I'm LeBron delusional, but I really thought they had him into the first half. I don't know
No,
what you
I
thought about
mean,
that.
definitely, I was feeling good about this one because kind of what you alluded to. The Lakers, I thought were outplaying them. Were outplaying the Nuggets. Uh, I felt the score was so close because we were missing some big, maybe not big, but open looks, makeable looks. I thought
Rui had a few like,
Rui
man,
had a few tough ones, and yeah, we'll get to all that stuff later. But at least talking about that first half, I felt good because I thought defensively, they came out and they were executing their game plan perfectly, right? They finally kind of figured out that Denver pick and roll, how they're gonna handle Jamal and Jokic, because he does look to pass so often out of those sets when he catches the ball. And I felt like they were really frustrating him, taking away his passing lane, tipping balls, um, creating difficult angles for him to kind of facilitate. And so that's why I really thought, we were in a great spot because it's not like, oh, we're chucking up contested look and they're going in. right? Like I felt we had the better game plan. We were executing the game plan, accordingly. It's just, you got to hit your open looks when they're there. But on Denver side, it's kind of like, they were getting not bailed out, but Michael Porter Jr.'s hitting tough shot after tough shot. Jamal Murray, same thing. Even though you could tell he wasn't 100%, he was still pushing the pace. And we were keeping Jokic, off the scoreboard at least. So that's where I felt really good. Our offense, was sustainable. It's not like you get hot for a quarter or two and everyone's just hitting contested shots. There's a flow, the ball's moving, and we're generating good looks. And so that's really why, yeah, after that first half, Matt, like you said, I felt really good.
Yeah, and another thing to feel good on is for the Nuggets, they also sustain and staying on this injury theme. Contavious Caldwell Pope, he tweaks his ankle. I think it was late in the first, and he was. I mean, he finished the game, but he was hobbling around there. So it's like, oh my goodness, like Jamal is hurt, KCP is hurt. That's Reggie Jackson also got hurt. I believe it was game three. He twisted his ankle too. So it's like your three quote unquote guards are they're playing on one leg. So it's like, man, you can exploit that. And then it goes whole back to the whole thing about Vando and then whatever. We'll get into that. But I just thought, man, the stars are aligning. And then it just came crashing down in the third quarter because it always does for the Lakers against the Nuggets. But not only did the Nuggets kind of have a big quote unquote Nuggets run, but I mean, I was just sick to my stomach when I saw Anthony Davis on the ground.
Me too.
It was
My
just,
hands
oh
went
my God. I
just
can't even
straight to
imagine
my
what you said.
forehead. Um, I mean, I didn't really say anything, just kind of in shock. Because I saw him, when he went down, I was like, did someone run into him? I'm like, I think I missed something, and it was the fact that he wasn't getting up, holding his shoulder of all things. I was like, usually shoulder, if you catch a glancing blow, like okay, that's gonna be pretty bad, but you can still run or like run down the court with one arm. But for him to be holding his shoulder on the ground, I was like, oh, that's not good. Like ankle, right? Obviously, you tweak an ankle here or there. Yeah, you're going to go down to the ground, but at least you still have a chance of getting back up. It's like when it's something upper body, right? That is causing you either so much pain or you're unable to move it and get off the floor. That to me, instantly the alarms are going off. Oh no, it's over. Like there it goes. We had our chance, and I was thinking, going back, oh, that game two, we blew it. It should be 2-2 right now, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, okay, it's a shoulder. They went to commercial break. I was like, please, AD, when I come back from commercial, let like just be okay, or at least don't go to the locker room. Lo and behold, um, luckily he was still on the bench, and then he was, kind of toughing it out um, right after that. But you could tell, Matt, and we'll get to the entire recap, but um, I don't think it's any stretch of the imagination to say that injury definitely had a very, you know, large impact on the outcome of this game. I don't like to blame injuries, don't like to blame refs because, both sides sustain injuries, both sides have to deal with the refs and their calls are going to make. But with how the Lakers, were operating, you could see it was pretty evident through those first four games that AD was definitely the focal point of the offense, at least, outside of LeBron. And when we lost that, not only, as the thing we get on AD about is, when he's aggressive, he's one of the best players in the world because he's going to bring it defensively, bring it offensively. And you could see he was off to another great start in this one. Um, getting anything he wanted inside of the paint. He was protecting the paint, playing good defense on Jokic, and then just that injury, it kind of took him out. I think not only hampered his offensive game, but even rebounding. You could see right at first he wasn't going up with his left at all. Only contesting shots with his right arm. I'm like, oh my God. So he's not even the same player offensively or the impactful player he was defensively. And it just another thing for the Lakers that they had to overcome.
Yeah, I think that injury was also huge too. And obviously, AD, he was cooking, by the way, offensively. So for him to just he was kind of a liability, to be honest, on offense, because he's not really engaged, but it's like I feel like that hampered LeBron a little bit because man, that pre-game time of injury, some of the passes that LeBron was making, I mean, it was just like the ball was moving pretty well that game, but it was LeBron where he's Skip Bayless always says he's the best passer in basketball, and it's hard to debate that honestly because he's so smart. His IQ is there. He knows where guys want the ball, and just him and AD operate so well together in the pick and roll when LeBron is running that at the helm. And with that kind of being gone, it's like okay, obviously LeBron turns in from a facilitator, and then he has to go into okay, I gotta score. Like I'm the guy now. I gotta be the alpha. I gotta, I thought he was a little more aggressive offensively, but there wasn't. I thought the ball movement wasn't as fluid. So I think AD, man, you can really see he is so important for you guys. I mean, that should just tell you all that needs to be said. But you know, even with that being said, they hung in there. They were just hanging around. Denver had the lead. They hung around, and then a couple key role players stepped up. Rui kind of got going a little bit later in the game, but I would say Austin Reeves kind of had his fourth quarter breakout. Huge baskets late in the game to keep them in the game, also give them the lead at one point. But then there was another controversial point in the game, and we get to the fourth. Close. I think it was a tie game. Jokic gets fouled by AD. Darvin Ham and the Lakers, they challenge it, win the challenge, but they lose the timeout. So I was a little confused on the rules. I thought they would have kept the timeout, but
Yeah, like football.
were you saying like don't challenge it because I don't know if you knew the rules or not. I
I
was
didn't.
personally kind of
I was
lost.
on the same. No, I was on the same page. At least with the challenge, I thought, you know, maybe it's the football thinking in us, right? Like you get the challenges right, you get to keep your timeouts no matter what. Um, so it's like, oh, Darvin Ham finally uses the challenge, but it cost us our last timeout. It's at that point, it's kind of tough to say, right? That's a judgment call to me. I'm hoping, first of all, I'm hoping they knew the rules, and that, we were gonna lose the timeout if we challenge it. And he just thought to say, nope, sticking to my guns. We're challenging it. We don't want this foul, called right now. So I don't know. Yeah,
Uh,
I just hope they knew what they were doing.
you were okay, you were as a Lakers fan, you were okay with Darvin Ham challenging it in that situation.
I
Like,
think
what it
so because at
even
that
the
point,
timeout didn't said,
yeah,
yeah.
okay. So timeout aside, right? At that point in the game, you get a decent look. I don't know. I think I'm fine with it because every bucket down the stretch, right, at that point to me matters. And
Hmm.
if we can get a chance to, stop um Jokic shooting free throws, and he's I don't want to say automatic, but he's pretty automatic, right? At that point. So I don't know. I think I was okay with them not challenging, or I mean, I was okay with them challenging at that point because yeah, it's just taking points off the board. Um, when you're already going bucket for bucket at that point. So I was okay with it.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. I know a lot of people, and even like I was watching Sports Center after the game, Tim Legler, the NBA analyst, they're kind of breaking it down. they were crucifying Darvin Ham, like, like, why are you doing the challenge? You got to save your timeouts. But it's like, to your point, you're tied. So basically, you got a good maybe if it's even Aaron Gordon or somebody that's, it's like, maybe it's not a for sure they're gonna make a 2 out of 2, attempt at the line. It's like, Jokic is a good free throw shooter. He's probably gonna make this, and we're gonna be down. And with the way the game was going, it's like both teams are trading baskets, basket after basket. So it's like, to get a stop would be huge, but also, if you're down, the crowd gets into it. It just makes it a little bit harder. And, you know, what if you're not even in a situation to say tie the game or win the game on the last second shot? You don't know that. I mean, obviously it played out that way, but you don't know that. So I think Darvin Ham deserves a little bit of slack on that particular instance. But I mean, obviously, season recap for the Lakers. We're gonna get into you know Coach Ham and the rest of the team, but timeout aside, kind of an all-time classic. Austin Reeves, right? Huge threes, and then I thought another big moment was Aaron Gordon had a huge offensive rebound, and I truly would in my head they were winning by one, and it was just LeBron versus Aaron Gordon, and Aaron Gordon literally just I don't know if I wouldn't say he wanted it more, but
I think he
the
just had more
effort
in the
was put
tank
in.
too.
Yeah, like
I mean,
but that was
LeBron
a
at
huge
39,
rebound.
he's carrying the entire offense, right? He's bringing the ball up the court. AD is half a human at that point, right? And Aaron Gordon, I mean, hey, credit to him. He went and he fought and got that offensive board, but he's not bringing the ball up the court. He's not facilitating the offense every time. He's not touching the ball, you know, with he honestly, he's just fresher. He's and at that point, I can't even fault LeBron really. Like, I mean, put the age thing aside, right? Like LeBron had to carry the that offense the entire second half, even defensively, right up until that point. He's still contesting shots. Um, but yeah, I know that offensive rebound was just that one was a killer. Because
If they
yeah,
got if they got that one, I I wouldn't want to say they win the game, but man, they would have been up one. Say they get a basket. I think that really puts pressure on Denver to, like, not force a bucket, but you know, say that even if they made a three, imagine they're up 2 possessions with like under a minute, and then the sudden change in momentum. You not only get the offensive rebound, but of course, it's Jamal Murray who's wide open for three. So it's like just the momentum of that play I thought was huge. But that's the one area where I know it's LeBron. I know he has a lot of baggage on his shoulders with the age, with how the game was going. But to me, it's as a competitor, you know what's at stake. At that point, like, age, it doesn't matter to me. Like, everybody is tired. Everybody's tired, but with what's at stake, your back is against the wall. Just get that rebound. Even if you don't have to score the next possession, like, you can defer to Austin Reeves, I think. So you get the rebound. He was cooking. So I would think LeBron would have no problem deferring to Austin Reeves in a situation where they're up one. He can get a bucket to extend the lead. But that was the one area where I was like, man, LeBron, you got to get that one. That one hurt for me. But Goat does Goat things, right? He ties the game late at the line. Everyone says he can't make clutch free throws. He does that. And then the game two recap happened. So I'll say this on the Jamal Murray shot. He's just a damn good basketball player. He's just really good. I mean, I don't know how many times we've said it, even going back from pre-podcast days, obviously, with the Portland Trailblazer battles, but we've seen this guy do it throughout his career. He is just unbelievable. Unbelievable. But the only question that I had, and this is from the Lakers' perspective, is Austin Reeves was playing well. But in a tie game, this is the last possession. I would have liked the Lakers to go back to what they had in game two, which was LeBron and AD defend the Murray Jokic pick and roll. Even though Jamal Murray hit that ridiculous shot, if he makes that, tip your hat. But that's the only area I was thinking, man, I think they should have gone to that. And I don't know, were you thinking that as well? Or you were okay with
Yeah.
Austin Reeves taking the matchup?
No, I mean, I'm with you there just because um I don't know. Like you said, in that win that they got, it was really AD and LeBron, you know, almost two-man guarding the Nuggets offense that facilitates through that entire pick and roll, right? So I don't know whose call that was. I probably have to go back and watch to see how that all got set up. But I mean, it was off the free throws, right? So you got to
Made
imagine
free
that,
throws.
yeah, off the made free throws. So you got to imagine that's the look that the Lakers wanted for whatever reason. Not sure whose call that was there, but I think I agree with you. I would have liked to see that LeBron and AD guarding the two man when it counts the most, you know. Um, yeah, just because they had done such a good job in that game for um to get the win. But yeah, like you said, gotta just tip your cap to Jamal Murray, and he just hits it when it counts. Um, we talk about these playoff aura, or I mean, these playoff mythical playoff players, right? Playoff Jimmy. Um, but really, you really want to talk about guys that step it up from the regular season to the postseason. Jamal Murray, it's he looks like one of the best players in the entire world in the playoff when it comes down to it. Fearless, the shot making, athleticism, whatever you want to say, clutch factor. I'm kind of running out of words to describe his performance in the playoffs. And honestly, you just got to tip your cap to him. Made tough shot after tough shot. Um, and yeah, just stuck the dagger in my heart 2 games in a best of five. So, I mean, I hate Jamal Murray, but I respect him. I got to tip my cap to him. I've thought, like we said, going back to their early days in the playoffs when they were still kind of, it wasn't quite their turn yet. I just looked at that pick and roll when they pushed Portland to 7 games, and I thought, man, if Jokic gets in better shape, um, and Jamal just hits one or two more of these jumpers, they're gonna be the toughest 1-2 in the league. Lo and behold, here we are, 2 MVPs, potentially three now for Jokic later. Jamal Murray, finally recovered from that injury. Uh, yeah, it's just not fair. On a Denver team who I think is not as good as last year, even. But when it comes down to it, Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, probably the best 1-2 in the entire league. So, gotta tip your cap.
Yeah, I want to give my flowers to them too. And I think what makes Jokic and Jamal Murray work so well together is Murray. I would say Jokic, he's a very unselfish superstar. And I don't think you really see that too often where it's like, man, if you have the alpha on the team, it's the team it's Jokic's team. But for him to say, I trust this guy late in the game to take the clutch shots. And I think that plays a huge, huge part in Murray's success is it's Jokic. I think for him to defer and just let Murray do what he does best, that's a credit to him and a very unselfish superstar. And I think, it's very hard for the best player on your team to defer to guys like that in that situation. Yes, Jamal Murray is a very good player, but with the status of Jokic, I don't know about that. But credit to both of them, man. been together from day one, and they have mastered the art of the pick and roll. I would say, even more deadly to me than LeBron and AD. I mean, they might be the best pick and roll duel, I don't know, that I've ever seen, at least from watching basketball, knowing what I know now. So just got to give credit to them. And even the role players. I mean, Aaron Gordon is such a great fit for them, does all the dirty work. KCP, kind of the similar role, but I think that's the guy that's really growing for this
Oh
team.
man,
You brought him up already. Michael Porter Jr., man, this
he,
guy, he is an assassin from three. He is lethal. I mean, if there's one area where it's like, yeah, the Denver bench is not as deep, but this guy is making up for it.
oh my,
He is
he
he is legit.
and I like honestly, Matt, I know Jamal Murray, right, had the impact he had. He had the 2 game winning shots, but he doesn't get those shots without Michael Porter Jr. Like
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I think today 5 of 7 from three, and you know the thing that's so amazing about the shots he's hit this entire series is they're tough looks. I mean, important clutch time threes. You go back to the game two. He's the one that hit the game tying three right after the LeBron dunk in transition, pull up, man in your face, bucket. It's like I the he doesn't he should be getting a ton of praise after this series. Um, I mean, shooting with confidence, and the real thing that's so impressive to me about Michael Porter Jr. this playoff run, as opposed to some of the previous years we've seen Denver. They did allude to it on the broadcast, but just his growth as a basketball player, you know, to make winning plays has just skyrocketed. I mean, he's averaged, I think, 9 rebounds in the series. So he's getting after it on the boards, but his shot selection has just, improved so much as well. Where, the running joke with him is like, if he touches the ball, you're not seeing it again, right? It's either going in or it's clanking off the rim, one or two things. But now, you know, there are several times where he's passing up an open three for a better look. Or, even tonight, for example, one where he probably should have taken it to the rim for a finish, contest uh LeBron was gonna contest it. He threw the lob to Aaron Gordon instead. Maybe ill-advised, but nonetheless, that kind of I think that play speaks to the growth of his basketball, IQ and just acumen as a player. He to me really, Matt, was that the you could say MVP because LeBron
Mm-hmm.
and AD were gonna cancel out Jamal Murray and Jokic regardless. I think. The two superstars on each side, they were gonna show up, but Michael Porter Jr. showed up every single night, you know, and shot it at a super high clip. He's not just chucking these threes. It's timely threes, crunch time, important threes. And yeah, to me, like you said, he's the one that is making up for that lack of depth. They had Bruce Brown last year, right? Jeff Green to hit these big shots. He's carrying the load of almost two guys, two important role players with the shots that he's hitting and at the times he's hitting them at. Man, I can't even speak on how impressed I was with Michael Porter Jr. because I was really not a big fan of his game previous to this playoff run or even this season. I thought he's talented. The talent was always there. The athleticism. I know he had injury history before, but I was like, yeah, let him shoot. He's just chucking up these shots. Yeah, okay, they go in once in a while, whatever. But this series, man, you really saw him evolve into like you said, an assassin. And to me, he was all the difference as to why Denver ended up winning this series.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I'll add one note on that. I thought the biggest difference in his game, at least from when I was watching, is he doesn't just settle for the three. I think even last year, sometimes you get a little too 3 point happy when he can shoot it at a high clip. It's like a little too one dimensional, right? If you know you're gonna shoot the three as a defender, close out hard. But I saw in this series, the Lakers are doing that, right? They see him on the 3 point line. He's open. They close out. He doesn't just jack up the three, not all the time. He puts the ball on the floor, and then obviously the defender's closing so hard, he blows right by them. And then obviously that's when the chaos happens. Either they're going to get a layup, dump it off to Gordon or Jokic underneath. So I just thought that's his growth, in learning the game, making winning plays. Don't just settle for the three just because you're a good 3 point shooter. Use your athleticism, use your size. And when you got Nikola Jokic down low and you got a lob threat in Aaron Gordon, you can make, you know, good shots into great shots. And I thought that's what he did for this team. And then, obviously the 3 point shooting is just, it seems like it's getting better in crunch time. So you got to give credit to credit's due. I mean, the Lakers, I guess, is a good transition for our season recap for you, but you got to give credit. I mean, maybe against any other team in the first round, we would have a different story or we would have this conversation later, but they just ran into championship DNA. And then sometimes the team just has your number. And Denver, you just got to tip your cap to them. They make winning plays. But why don't we talk about your team more as a season recap? So why don't you give me like a letter grade then? This season, a lot of ups and downs. What do you think the Lakers' grade this season was for
I
you?
don't know. I'd give them like a C plus, maybe. I mean, coming off a Western Conference Finals appearance to the thing for me was you know, end the season so hot last year, right? Post trade deadline, make all the right moves. Okay, we're bringing back that same core we found success in, and yet we struggle. You know, we're not putting out that same lineup for some reason. Okay, I gave them a plus because yeah, we're sustaining injuries here and there, and it's a tough Western Conference. But Anthony Davis played the most games of his career, or sorry, played the most games in a season this season than he has in his entire career. So you got the healthiest AD. LeBron, played a majority of the games, didn't have a major injury. So it's like, what's the excuse? What is the reason for us not, winning these games in the regular season to put us in a better position to get out of the play-in tournament, right? Um, so that's the regular season. We talk about Darvin Ham and all this stuff, and I'm sure we'll get to it later. But yeah, just that's where I'm feeling at a C plus because it's like, how much better did we really get from last season? Honestly, um, I don't know, like barring the injuries. Okay, the Christian Wood and Vando, you can't help it. Injuries happen, but I don't know. Do I feel like this team was a lot better than last season? Not necessarily. Maybe a little bit better. Okay, but not a lot, not a whole lot better. So I'm kind of just stuck at mediocrity at a C plus.
Yeah, I think I would say unbiasedly, I would say maybe like a B minus. I think the injuries played a huge factor because if you go from the preseason, like both you and I, we were like, oh wow, like Rob Pelinka, he put together this great roster. It's LeBron, AD, and he's got quality role players, to fill out that roster. But then I remember I look like a total idiot now, but I said Gabe Vincent is going to be huge. I mean, he was coming off a great season, and then not just he just he didn't even play. So it's like, that's such a waste. And then he's trying to get back into shape, and it's the playoffs and the play in already. So it's like, well, a little bit too late. And then the Vanderbilt injury, I think, was really huge, honestly. Obviously, he was a starter at the end of the year. So I don't know if that played a part in rotation, but like I feel like the supporting cast like that was the disappointing part. I thought like obviously LeBron AD they're going to do their thing. Even D'Lo, like honestly, D'Lo he had yes he had a great season. I mean he shot the ball great from three, but it's just for him it's not like a consistent line. It's a little bit of a roller coaster. It wasn't as bad as previous years, but just a little bit up and down. Then I thought Austin Reeves honestly kind of had a down like first half. Like he wasn't, I thought what we were going to expect him to be. So it took him a little bit to maybe get into the groove. But, I'm with you. Like it was a little bit disappointing to see the role players, I thought, outside of maybe D'Angelo when he had his spurts. But yeah, it wasn't that good. But well, I don't know. Every time with the Lakers, the season ends. Everybody asks this guy this question, but LeBron James, are you worried that this is his last game as a Laker? Is he going to return next year to you guys in the purple and gold?
Definitely, I think I'm at the point where now I'm concerned. Last year I was like, nah, he still got some years left in those legs. Uh, the fire is still there. He's still hungry for a championship. I don't know. I think the Lakers, if there's any possibility he comes back, he's still LeBron James. As crazy it's gonna be, he's gonna be what, 40? He's gonna be 40, right? Next season.
Mhm.
So come playoff time next season, he's gonna be 40 years old. That being said, it's still a highly effective, efficient, smart LeBron James, capable LeBron James of being, can't believe it, he's probably still going to be the number one option, right? When it comes down to it, you're still going to be relying on LeBron in crunch time. So I think above all, if there's the possibility he comes back, Rob Pelinka, Jeannie Buss, Lakers front office, you do whatever you can to bring back LeBron. And I'll say it right now, I don't even care if that means drafting Bronny in the second round. Like honestly, I don't care if that's what it means. How did our first round pick this year pan out? I don't even know if you know who our first round pick was this year, Matt.
It was
So
Indiana guard, right? Wasn't he
right,
Indiana?
Hood,
He's in the G
Jalen
League.
Hood, yeah,
Scofino or something, right?
Shafino. See, like I don't even know because he didn't even play, right? Um, so we have guys, like that, and it's like, okay, well, at least if you draft Bronny, maybe he never turns out as a prospect anyway. But at least we get to keep LeBron James for one more season. Like, hey, I don't know, second round pick for LeBron James. I think that's pretty worth it, right? Either way. So I don't know. To me, that's what you do. Number one, if he does want to come back, you throw everything at him, whatever he wants. He wants to extend for another 2 years so he can play with Bryce too. So be it, whatever. You know, I do like as crazy as it sounds, Matt, I think there is still a championship window with LeBron. I'm just it's raw right now. You know, coming only hours off of the season ending, but I truly, truly, truly believe that LeBron still has enough left in him to lead a championship run. And I think if you just provide him the right tools, he can get it done. Like honestly, you swap out LeBron for uh like who's a megastar at that same position, like a Kevin Durant maybe on that some team that got swept. I don't know. I think maybe LeBron can figure something out. As good as the player KD is, right? Like LeBron's game is a little bit different. But hey, you surround him with a supporting cast that fits his style. Maybe it's delusion, but I still think you can get it done. So you got to try to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think LeBron still has. I don't know if I'll go 5 years, but I think a solid. I would say at least two. Give him 2 year, maybe a
If he
2 year
wants to,
window.
I think if he wants to, he can
And
definitely.
I truly think he wants to because I think his big picture is he's trying to be the GOAT. He's trying to establish his resume. He wants to be known as the greatest basketball of all time, as or greatest basketball player of all time. I'm pretty sure that's what he's playing for. So he wants to win championships, and he's a basketball historian. Of course, he knows the goat talk and yada 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 legacy. He wants to leave a legacy. I truly believe that. And do I think he's gonna win another one? He still has a shot. I really do, but I don't think he can be the quote unquote alpha. I think those days of LeBron just being a freak of nature I think that's just in the past already. Can he be a number two? Yes. But I also think that depends on the other superstar, Anthony Davis. See, you said LeBron, he's still going to be the number one option. I tend to disagree. I think it has to be Anthony Davis, and we can kind of talk about him for a little bit. But, coming off a season where he played the most games, he showed me something, this playoffs, this season, and even this game 5. We can go back to the injury that he sustained in the third quarter. We were like, oh my gosh, this is how the season is going to end off an AD injury. But to his credit, he got back in the game and he didn't go in the locker room. I'm sure he's probably hurting right now. He's going to treat it. But to his credit, I think if that was AD, heck, a couple years ago, I don't think he's finishing the game. So for him to finish game 5 and just give them something, just a presence, I think that's a sign for Laker fans that this guy, he's slowly getting into really taking the torch from LeBron. So that was my thought on AD, really for the season. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that, his injury history, and now I think he has to be the number one guy for the Lakers.
Yeah, definitely impressed with AD. Um, all the criticism I feel like he's faced for whether it's his injury history or his effort output on any given night. I think he deserves the right to shut up all those haters and critics, myself included with the effort thing that we kind of want every single night because when it mattered, down the stretch in the regular season and here in these playoffs, he gave you everything and he was aggressive. He was assertive every single night defensively, you know, doing his best to protect the paint. So I got to tip my cap to AD. The only thing, and this is not his fault, right? But the injury thing is real, right? The injury concern is valid. It's not his fault, you know, but it just it happens, and it happens at the worst time or it's long periods of time, you know. I don't even think it's necessarily his fault, but you cannot deny the fact at this point that injuries, are a part of the Anthony Davis experience, unfortunately. And to me, it does have to kind of be the perfect storm for a playoff run. We're going to need a healthy LeBron and a healthy AD the entire time because the West, especially, it's just made up of too many superstars on every single team. Every team in the West, you could argue, has, if they don't have two superstars, they have one superstar and two stars, two or three star players, right? From 1 to 10, you could argue that. Um, so it's like that's just part of the luck that you need to have in order to sustain a deep playoff run. Um, I mean, I know we'll get to the other uh playoff series in a little bit, but yeah, just to go off the Anthony Davis thing, I think we should bring him back if we can. I just don't think it's blow up time with AD and LeBron just yet. Um, and just to preface it, I really do think the only untouchable guys should be AD, LeBron, and I'm gonna go Austin Reeves over D'Lo.
Ooh, Austin Reeves untouchable. Okay, so that's actually a good transition. So as far as you, why don't you put on your Rob Pelinka hat for a little bit? So you said Austin Reeves is an untouchable. So you think what role players, I guess, what needs to change? Like, is there a type of player that you want? Or there's also a lot of talk, you know, Trae Young to the Lakers. Do they need a third superstar to kind of, you know, balance out the scoring, ease LeBron's workload? Like, if you're Rob Pelinka, what are you doing to make this roster better? Initial thoughts.
Initial thoughts is, you know, okay, well, we'll start with the roster because I do want to talk about the coach eventually before we get off of this thing.
Oh yeah, that's the
But
last. That's the last
okay,
one.
okay, that's the last thing. Okay. But yeah, just quick thoughts. Um, it's the evolution of the wing, I think, in the NBA. You know, you look at some of the top teams right now across the board. Minnesota, for example, right, just finished the sweep of the Suns, and Anthony Edwards was getting clowned and memed at when he's saying in his interview, "Hey, they got Kevin Durant, but we got Jaden McDaniels, right?" And everyone's like, "Oh, ha ha, Jaden McDaniels." Hey, Jaden McDaniels is a legit guy, right? That locked up KD and well, I know KD and Book went off, but he made the game-winning steal, I would say, to help close out their game four. Um, Also can hit a big shot when he has to. You look at guys, like Denver with Michael Porter Jr., with KCP, Aaron Gordon, right? Um, and also, not only is it players, but or I mean, wing guys, but it's. I just didn't feel like we had that not grit guy, but like who we missed Vandal because that was Vandal, right?
Hmm.
He's gonna go clamp the other guy. He's gonna go chasing after loose balls. Like the Knicks have Josh Hart, right? Um, the Nuggets, that's Aaron Gordon, right? The Warriors, it's Draymond. Like a guy like that, like a PJ Tucker, a Jay Crowder, like that type of player when they're not gonna get a ton of minutes, but they're gonna get that one extra possession that you know. And I just didn't quite feel that from the Lakers. Maybe we have someone on the roster that can turn into that, but we need to find, something along those lines. And really, to me, it's just improved defensively out of LeBron and AD. Because I think, you go to Rui. I like Rui when he can have his offense, but if he's not producing offensively, he's not playable. I've said that throughout the series. Um, if he's not going to be scoring, then it's really hard to play him against guys like Michael Porter and Aaron Gordon because I just don't think defensively he can guard one-on-one on the perimeter. So I'm just looking at, like a Herb Jones, a Trey Murphy in New Orleans, if we could somehow swing one of those guys. Jeremy Grant up in Portland. Like these are the guys I'm thinking of where they bring length, they bring the defensive ability, and also some offensive talent as well. Because, uh, you know, as good as the superstars are, every championship team is going to need either a third guy to step up or key role players to step up. Look at Denver with Michael Porter. Um, Even going into the past several championship years, right? There've always been one other superstar or one other star, I should say, that has kind of stepped up. Um, and it really just comes down to the team, Matt. I think the best team with the right game plan uh is going to be the champions. So yeah, we need to restructure, I think, and pray for health. I'll say that.
Pray for help. Okay. And speaking of restructuring, and we'll close this as the final topic for the Lakers and really the season. But I think one of the rumors that's going around now, and I saw it on Twitter, I saw it on Sports Center after the game, is your head coach, Darvin Ham, his job security is in serious jeopardy. And that was reported by Dave McMenamin, and even Shams tweeted out something like that. So I know Laker faithful has so much to say about Darvin Ham, but I'll give my take, and then I know you have. I'm sure you're gonna have a lot to say about this one here, but I think Darvin Ham needs to go. I just think there was something that was missing from this year to last year. And maybe it was just covered up from greatness. But there was times, especially really everything gets magnified in the playoffs. It's just like, man, like, when AD says comments like after game 2, where he's basically taking a shot at his head coach, it's like sometimes we don't know what we're doing. How can you bring a guy like that back in your or locker room to lead your team for another, even a year? Like I just think there's no way you can bring someone like that doesn't have the respect of the locker room. And I just think even his coaching decisions, really throughout the series, some of them are, yeah, you can nitpick here and there, but man, I just think the rotations were just something was just off to me with the rotations. He leaves guys in too long. Uh, even the whole Vanderbilt thing, like we talked about it in the beginning. I'm just puzzled that a guy is active, that was a huge contributor for your team last year in the playoff run and when he was healthy, but to just not even get him on the floor. I'm not asking him to play 30 minutes. That's ridiculous, but could he come in 5 minutes a half and just say, like, hey, you give us whatever you can. If you're gassed after 2, like, okay, that's fine. But you just wore out Jamal Murray just a little bit. Maybe you made him a little bit tired in his legs. He might not have enough in that fourth quarter on a jump shot. That could be the difference. But just the fact that I don't know, I like with you, I didn't hear anything yet. This is just initial reaction, but I just cannot see how you list a guy as active who's part of your rotation and can make an impact, and he just doesn't see the light of the day on the court. That just bothers me. And then even the timeouts, um, with the Denver runs, right? Every game they always have a run, and it's gonna come, but to wait, after 4 or 5 possessions in a row they score instead of after 2 in a row or after 2 baskets and a turnover. It's like, take a timeout, settle everybody down. Don't let the game completely slip away. And it's like, I don't know what he's saying in the huddle, but it's like, settle them down. Like, they come back out sometimes and it's like, it just continues. Like, aren't you supposed to have the timeout work, settle everybody down, maybe draw up a play on the other end to get an easy bucket to get everybody back in groove? But I just thought after timeout plays, like, it was just like, okay, LeBron takes the ball and then they're dribbling out the shot clock, takes a terrible 3, and then, oh, Denver's off and running. So, there's these coaching things that play into part, but I think it goes back to my first point. When AD said those comments after game 2, I was like, yeah, this guy cannot come back as the Lakers head coach. And even with LeBron's comments after the game 5, it was like they asked him a question. He was like, yeah, like, okay, yeah, whatever. I'm not gonna answer that. So I know that's going through his head, but I rambled enough. I know you have a lot to say on Darvin Ham, so I'm just gonna open the floor to you because
No, I
you
mean,
must have a
I don't
lot to
want
say.
I don't want to sound like a broken record, as I'm sure all of Lakers Nation feels some type of way. Um, Matt, disregard the basketball first. Um, I'm not even going to talk about the timeouts. Not going to talk about the lineups and the rosters he was putting out. Not going to talk about his game management and substitutions, and all that. To me, unfortunately, fair or not fair, first of all, it is a LeBron James led team, right? And we know how coaches get even more scrutinized when LeBron James is on your team. Fair or not, that is just something you have to accept as a reality, I think, right? Eric Spoelstra, Ty Lue, guys that, you know, took responsibility, but also, kept him accountable at the same time, right? Um, so I think there's a balance with coaching LeBron to let him be the great that he is, but also being able to balance when to, um, you know, tell him what he needs to hear. And with Darvin Ham, it seemed like it was too much the latter where, he's like, I'm not gonna let LeBron James bully me around, right? And tell me what to do. But almost too much to the sense where he took away, I think, or at least I think LeBron felt like he was taking away from his greatness. And the most glaring example was the last game when Darvin Ham did not issue a challenge, and LeBron is right there screaming at him, right? And LeBron, he gets visibly upset at officials. We remember the J.R. Smith finals incident where JR didn't know how much time was on the clock. That's probably the most animated I've seen LeBron get at a teammate in public, right?
Right.
Um, so for him to go at his coach like that in the middle of a play, like in the middle of a game, not a timeout, not anything, on an out of bounds, he's screaming, pleading, right? And to me, that right there is the lack of trust between both Darvin Ham and LeBron James that they had in each other. Because, you know, to a certain extent, right, you're Phil Jackson and you have Kobe and you have MJ and they are pleading with you, something like that, right? I mean, okay, you're gonna think, you know, first of all, that's Phil Jackson. That's not Darvin Ham, right? But championship pedigree, right? But he's still gonna listen, he's still gonna hear what his star player has to say. And when it's a guy like LeBron and he's pleading like that, you know, it made it worse when they show the replay and LeBron literally does not touch the ball at all, right? It goes straight off Jamal Murray's hand, clear as day, right? And LeBron is pleading. He's like, I'm telling you, challenge it, challenge it, challenge. And he's like throwing a tantrum. I To me, it's like the fact that you're not gonna listen and risk a challenge at that point, um, to me says, you know, I just don't think it's a good fit between LeBron and Darvin Ham. And if that is the case, I'm sorry, Darvin Ham. You could be the greatest, you know, coach currently that doesn't have a championship. We might never know. But if I got to choose between LeBron and a head coach that doesn't have a championship or doesn't necessarily have a winning pedigree as of yet, whether it's your fault or not, I'm choosing LeBron. So you factor in the questionable rotations that don't quite make sense to a lot of people, the timeout usage, like tonight, we were up 67-58, and we don't call the timeout. We're down 74-71. When we've seen the run that you said Denver goes on, all of that added up to me. Um, I'm sorry. I just don't think it's a good fit for this Lakers team currently if we're going to continue to move forward with LeBron and Anthony Davis, who, like you said, had some interesting comments that felt like they were directed at Darvin Ham. And the D'Angelo Russell situation where you're just going to allow a player to even do that, right? Like, I don't know what happens behind closed doors. Um, you can tell there's not a great bond there. The locker room seems disjointed. Why isn't the effort there every night? Like, whether it's Darvin Ham's fault or not, it's just not working. And that's why I think he's got to go.
Yeah. I mean, it's an unfortunate business. It's nothing against Darvin Ham as a person. But we don't like to call for firings for any position, but it's kind of just how the nature of sports is, right? It's when you work for the Lakers, you work for a championship organization. It's kind of the expectation. If you don't hit that, change is going to be needed. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of change this off season for your team, but I know it was kind of a long pod or subject on this one. So we'll let you grieve a little bit. Maybe we'll get into, free agency or the draft, but it's okay. The Lakers, the pain will be gone in weeks or months. I don't know how long it takes you, but
Yeah, Dodgers are
when
doing
my
okay,
team, when
so
my teams lose, man, it hurts. So I get it. But I think that'll end our Lakers segment of the pod. Let's quickly get through the other playoff series so we can get to the NFL
yeah,
section. But
it'll be
okay,
quick. It'll be quick.
we'll stay in the West. Mavs Clips tied at 2, and I think, yeah, tied at 2. Game 5 tomorrow, I believe. But kind of an interesting series. I mean, the Clippers almost blow a 31-point lead, which would have been an all-time meme, I think, on social media. But
With those
some,
two guys, especially with Harden
yeah,
and Paul George.
Harden, Paul George, Westbrook. I mean, it was just tailor made.
Yeah,
But
Westbrook.
somehow they win 2 games without Kawhi. I don't know what you think. I still think the Mavs, as crazy as it sounds, I still think the Mavs are gonna win this series.
Oh yeah, this is playing out exactly like I kind of told you, right? I thought it was gonna go seven, and they were gonna trade game for game, but I just thought, hey, the Kyrie thing experiment, it's working with Luca. I'm sticking to my guns, and they have like I just expressed with what the Lakers need, guys like PJ Washington who come up huge, Derek Jones Jr., right? These athletic wings that can make plays for you, grab rebounds, cut to the basket, and that's why I think yeah, Dallas. I still like Dallas.
Yeah, me too. And I think Kyrie's playing at a ridiculous level right now. So I feel like Luca, honestly, he
If he
hasn't
gets it
been
going,
so
if Luca
sharp. Yeah,
starts,
like
yeah,
that's
it's
crazy.
yeah.
Luca, I
So
mean, if he just plays to his standard, not even just be great. I mean, with the way Kyrie's playing, he just can't
and
be
that
bad. And I think they're gonna
and
win.
yeah, and to me that's even more so the fact why I think Dallas is going to win because the Clippers, you guys had your chance. Okay, on the flip side, no Kawhi like you said for a couple games. So, but even at full force, I think it'll definitely be interesting because Luca has stepped up defensively, like we
Hmm.
really haven't seen him before step up. He's his perimeter defense. Granted, that last game was pretty embarrassing when James Harden was just hitting floater after floater after floater. But I'm sure Jason Kidd will make an adjustment um, to kind of remedy that. But Luca's defensive, skills on the perimeter have been a shock, and I think that's something interesting. And I don't know. I still like Dallas. That's why I think I still
Yeah,
like
I'm
Dallas.
with you. I say Mavs in 7, I think. But okay. Pelicans, Thunder, another team's going to Cancun with the Lakers. But Thunder sweep the Pelicans. I think we were kind of wrong on this one. We were a little delusional after game 1. We're like, oh man, the Pelicans, they were in there. They can hang around, make it interesting. But the young OKC Thunder, man, I think their team chemistry is what the Lakers wanted. I mean, there's
Uh,
one tight unit. I think they have the coach of the year on the sidelines in Dagenal. And when you got a superstar like Shea leading the way, yeah, I think that's a recipe for success. And I don't know, whoever comes out of that Clippers Mavericks series, man, you're gonna get a young, hungry OKC team. That's I think they're gonna be dangerous. But I don't know if you want to really touch on this series, but OKC, man, I think for Dallas or the Clippers, I don't know. They're gonna be in trouble with this team, I think,
I think so as
regardless.
well. Don't get me wrong. I think Oklahoma City, they're a really good team. It's hard for me to knock on the Pelicans, I'll say, without Zion, because I just genuinely think if they had Zion, um, who on OKC is going to be able to stop him, right? Like Chet, as good of a defender he is, he's getting bodied by Zion,
Yeah.
right? Lou Dort, as good of a defender he is, he's getting bodied by Zion. You know, I don't know. It'd probably have to be Jalen Williams that has to take on that assignment. But with how Zion was playing this year, I really thought it could have been a great matchup for New Orleans because he played Zion came to the point where he's playing the point, right? So he can look to score, but he can also look to facilitate to guys like Trey Murphy, DJ, Brandon Ingram. Valanciunas is an effective scorer for them. So it's like, man, if they had Zion, I really think they could have given the Thunder a run for their money. But it is what it is, right? Injuries happen. So, um,
Yep.
yeah, I just think it was not enough. What is it called? They just couldn't match talent with OKC without Zion.
Yep. A big what if, because that could have changed the whole course of the playoffs. We never know. But okay, last series, Suns, T Wolves. The Suns are going to
I got
Cancun,
something.
man. They got swept.
I got something
Anthony
to say about this
Edwards.
one.
I mean, is he Michael Jordan's like adopted son or like son that we don't know about? Like, I don't know. There's some similarities about this guy that looks pretty scary, but I don't know. Are you shocked that the Suns got swept?
Honestly, I really think about it. Not shocked. Um, and it's nothing to do really with Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, even Bradley Beal to a certain extent. But you can load up those three positions as much as you want. The thing I've been seeing, right? It's you really need to go seven, be able to go seven deep when it counts, right? 7 to 8 guys that get meaningful minutes in the playoff. And for the Suns, outside of those three guys, like who are you really counting on to step up big, right? Um, just I did a quick glance because I wanted to test my theory over the past 5 years. Um, but you start with that Lakers, or I mean the Raptors series, right? They had guys, Van Vliet, Ibaka, Norman Powell coming off the bench, giving them huge minutes, right? Then you fast forward to the bubble team, Caruso, Kuzma, guys giving them huge minutes there. The Bucks team, at Connaughton, DiVincenzo off the bench, Bobby Portis, these guys giving key minutes off the bench. And then, we know the Warriors won, Otto Porter, Gary Payton the second, who had huge minutes in that one. And then flashing back to last year, Bruce Brown, Jeff Green off the bench. These guys all had pivotal roles. Who's that for the Suns? Eric Gordon, and Eric Gordon is a little bit older now. He's not the Houston Eric Gordon. So you really look back on it. Yes, it is a star-driven league, but it is still a team game of basketball where you need, certain guys on a team to be championship caliber team. And I just don't think um, Phoenix had the guns to compete with the Timberwolves. So really looking back in hindsight, not that surprising.
I'm a little surprised because I mean I gotta say I'm a little surprised because I did pick them, I guess, to go to the finals since I can't say the Nuggets. But I'm just shocked because I thought with the firepower of Durant, Booker, and Beal, they would at least be able to make it competitive. Um, just I'm just shocked. I'm honestly shocked that they
Ant
got
is him,
swept.
man.
I'm really
It's
shocked.
it's
I
the
mean, testament to Ant. And then really the Suns, like they won all three. I think they won three matchups against the Timberwolves in the regular season by double digits. So I was thinking, oh, like man, like young team. Yes, Ant is great, but man, the Suns were handling them and giving them business in the regular season. It's like, you keep a similar game plan, your stars come to play, and that's what you kind of bank on. You need for any sport. Your stars have to come to play in every sport to win. And in this situation, in certain games, I guess, you got Kevin Durant. D-Book had a good game in game four. I think he had 49. Kevin Durant had 33. So it's like, okay, they came to play. But, Bradley Beal, I think, kind of a questionable series, I think, as the third option. Yes, I give him some slack because he was guarding Anthony Edwards, and that is not an easy task to do. And that takes a lot out of your offensive game. But I just thought, he didn't look like that Bradley Beal that was in Washington that just he can take over games. And it's like, man, he was missing. He had, I thought, bad turnovers in game four, late in the game.
Yep,
Um,
those were
but I
rough
just,
possessions.
and then really the thing that I think was the difference in the game, in the series, yes, Anthony Edwards is great, but I think the size of Minnesota just overwhelmed the Suns. And this goes back to roster construction. You talked about having a deep bench, but I think that kind of emphasizes you need quote unquote big wings, big
That's
centers.
what I'm saying.
And this
That's
and
just
this
how the
goes,
league is going.
yeah, but it's like going to centers specifically. I don't know. I hate to pick on this guy, but Yusuf Nurkic, dude has the worst record in the playoffs. Not okay, it's not funny, but I just have to say that he has the worst winning percentage of qualified players in the playoffs. But no offense to him, like you need a big body, but you got to be mobile defensively. And this is why I was so, the way that I was with him on the Blazers, because with that Blazers team, it's like, man, you got a prime Dame, you got a prime CJ McCollum, you got Alan Crabb, or whoever was going off the bench, right? And you had Anthony Simons too, young Simons. You had more than enough offense. It's like we need defense. And it's like with this Suns team, you got more than enough guys that can put the ball in the basket. Even Eric Gordon, like from time to time, he can have moments. So you got scorers, but you need a guy that can do the dirty work, get dirty, get rebounds, block shots, make it tough on the other guys to get rebounds, make them intimidated to get in the paint. Anthony Edwards, you think he was scared of Yusuf Nurkic? Like, no way. Like, these guys, Gobert and Towns, they were just having their way down there. And it's like, he didn't even get in the game, like, when it counts. It's like they're putting out Drew Eubanks, former Blazer. No offense to him, but if you're banking on Drew Eubanks to close games for you, I think there's something wrong with your roster construction or your lineup. So I'm just going to say it as that. I think this team as a whole, I don't think it worked. I think you trade Bradley Beal if you can somehow find a suitor because you have no draft capital. I don't think you want to waste Devin Booker's prime. You don't want to waste Kevin Durant's prime. So if you can get something back for Bradley Beal, and if you can maybe get rid of Yusuf Nurkic, like not even trying to be mean, but I feel like you just want a center that can, you know, be almost like a Derek Lively for the Mavericks. Like doesn't have to be a star, but he's big enough where he can be a lob threat. He can block shots. He can get rebounds. Like you need a guy like that, I think, in the NBA, unless they're Nikola Jokic, really, on the offensive end. Unless it's a Jokic, you need an athletic big, I think, to counter that. So the Suns have a lot of work to do in the offseason, but if I was them, I think the Bradley Beal thing just didn't work out. And even KD said he was uncomfortable. So it's like LeBron. If LeBron says something, you probably should listen. KD says something, you probably should listen if he's on your team. So I don't know. I think Bradley Beal should be gone, in my opinion, and get something for that. But
Yep.
yeah, but anyway, let's do a quick preview before we head to the East. Nuggets T Wolves, that's the matchup. I think this is going to be a pretty spicy one. My initial thoughts, I don't know. I'll let you go first because I really don't know. This is going to be a
Oh
good
man.
series.
I will say I do I slightly am favoring Minnesota here. Um, just because if they follow the blueprint that the Lakers laid out defensively, um, I just think the players that they have are going to match up better with Denver's length. Um, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, meet Jaden Daniels, and Cat. Well, maybe not Cat, but Anthony Edwards is going to play defense. Nas Reed, I think, is going to be a big
Six man of the
support.
year.
He's going to be because he's a center, but he's 6'9". So Kyle Anderson, guys like that, guys that can match up to the size of Denver, and Jokic, he's going to get his no matter what, but Rudy Gobert is going to be solely focused defensively. whereas Cat is going to space you out offensively as a 7 footer. So I don't know. I just think with the Twin Towers and who's going to guard Anthony Edwards, um, right? Because if you're Denver, you're going to say, okay, Aaron Gordon or Mike Porter Jr. is going to have to guard Anthony Edwards. We more so because we don't know what KCP's ankle is going to look like, right? But even if KCP is healthy, I'm taking Anthony Edwards over almost any guy his height right now. Like that's just the level he's playing at, the level of confidence he's playing at. So I'm gonna take Minnesota. Um, and yeah, Matt, just before we get off that topic, Anthony Edwards is the next killer. Stephen A alluded to it today. MJ, Kobe, now we got Ant. And you look at his game, the way he plays, if he's hitting his threes, I literally think he's unguardable offensively. Because if you're gonna leave him open from three, right, and he's knocking them down, he's gonna take that all day. You start taking away his 3-point shot, he's going by anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody one on one, no, you don't stand a chance. And now he has his post up game from the mid range too. It's like, yeah, good. You got to double. If you don't double, he's gonna torch you the entire time. Anthony Edwards, I was like, yeah, maybe it's Luca, maybe it's Giannis. Nah, he's gonna be. I truly think he's that next face of the league, if you want to say. He's got it all: the excitement, the talent, the attitude. It's all there. So that's why I'm taking Minnesota.
Yeah, I think I really don't know who's gonna win, but I'm gonna initially say Minnesota in 7. And I'll only say that because I know what I'm gonna get from Ant, but I feel like Minnesota, they're growing with the previous experiences that they've had. I think Jaden McDaniels' growth is huge. But unfortunately, I think Denver's a little bit banged up. I think Murray, all right, the calf injury, KCP, I don't know how his ankle is going to be. And he's going to have to probably guard, I would think, initially go up against Ant. So it's like, man, that's going to take a toll, I think. And then even Reggie Jackson is still a little bit nicked up. So the depth of Denver is going to be tested. I just think this might be where we see, man, they're really going to miss Bruce Brown. They're really going to miss Jeff Green because, I mean, I'll put their starting five healthy against anybody, but they're nicked up. And then that fills in the bench guys. They're just not the same. And even Reggie Jackson is hurt. So I think that's going to play a factor. And I think Ant is putting the league on notice. Like you said, man, he's coming. And what a way for him to arrive, really, to knock out the defending champs. So that's my initial thought. I think Minnesota in 7, unfortunately, due to some injuries. But let's quickly go through the East a little bit. Pacers, Bucks, 3-1 series lead. I guess you were
Told
pretty
you.
right on that one. I also
Well,
did not think Dame was going to get
exactly.
hurt. So there's
Yeah,
my
yeah.
caveat. But I don't know. I mean, looks like the Pacers are going to win this series in 5 or 6. I would hate to assume that, but I guess the one question for you is, do you think the Bucks, assuming that they go down in the next 3 games, do you think they get a pass for this kind of mess of a season that they've had this
They're
year?
gonna they're gonna all get lucky and they are gonna get a pass because like I said, the baseline is you expect your stars to perform. You don't have Giannis and Dame for majority of the series. You lucked out, Doc Rivers and all those Milwaukee Buck um, front office guys because yeah, I think if Giannis and Dame are healthy and you're down 3-1 and then you go out like this, blow the whole thing up. But you look at their roster, I still think it's a good roster. Missing Giannis, top 5 player, no debate in the entire world. Dame, an arguable, well, maybe not this year, but was on that verge of is he a top 10 player in the league, right? Um, yeah, you get a pass, Milwaukee, if you end up losing this series.
Yeah, I think so too, unfortunately. But looks like they're probably going to play. knock on wood, I think, but it's probably going to be the Knicks because they're up three
Ooh,
games to
yeah.
one. And, talk about Anthony Edwards arriving. I think Jalen Brunson is trying to say, hey, don't forget about me, man. I'm still him. Remember me from last year and the last 2 years? So I think the Knicks in five, I would say. Embiid, I don't know. It's just not meant to be this year.
Yeah.
And then even we'll go to Miami, Boston, kind of speed things up. They're up 3-1. They had that, game two, I guess, slacking, I guess, in terms of effort, and then the Miami barrage of threes. But they've definitely answered the bell, winning 2 games on the road. Helps
Still
win
not
a
impressive though.
help
I'm not
help.
impressed
Yeah.
by Boston, and it's so sad because they're so talented on paper, but it's just something about maybe Jason Tatum or Jalen Brown. I just can't trust them. Like I trust Anthony Edwards, I trust Luca, those young guys. I just can't trust Jason Tatum or Jalen Brown to show up and when it matters most as of yet. So until they change my mind, uh, I can't. I maybe Boston wins the East, but I can't see them winning the finals.
Yeah, I think well the East this year, I mean, Giannis is hurt, right? So a lot of injuries, I think not as deep as the West. So I still think they're good enough, like you said, to get to the finals, and then
I'm gonna
whoever they
say
play in the
though,
West is somehow going to survive that.
yeah, I'm gonna say the Knicks. I think it's gonna be the Knicks that make it to the finals this year.
Okay. Ooh, the Knicks. That's a tough one. But I mean, they're playing well right now, so hard to debate that. But last series, probably the least exciting series
I don't
in the
care who
playoffs.
wins. I don't care. I don't
Go
care.
Cleveland, this is for you.
Yeah, I don't care who wins.
Yeah.
If
Hey, it's
Paulo
2-2,
wins,
man.
I think it's a bigger thing if Orlando wins though, because I think that boosts Banchero's stock a ton for carrying that young team. Especially the more impressive thing will be how Orlando, a young team, has been able to bounce back after getting, pretty much dominated in those first 2 games. So um yeah. Maybe
Yeah,
if it
and then
goes to seven, I'll watch game seven. But
yeah. Well, it'll be on TV, I think, because I think the rest of the games are on like NBA TV. So it's like anytime you put a playoff game on NBA TV, it's like, they don't really care about this game. But hey, it's 2-2. It's an exciting series, so it'll be interesting. But okay, I think that was it for basketball, at least this week. But okay, I think you wanted to talk about the draft, right? It's kind of a big deal
yeah,
for us.
definitely need to talk about the draft. I know you know what, this is gonna be a long pod. Either way, Matt, draft, playoffs, so be it. We don't want to stay up too late, but let's start off with your team as we usually do with the NFL. So getting right into it, Matt. Cowboys draft. Let's have it. Let's hear the reactions. You've had some time to sit on it now. How did Jerry do? Can we get first a letter grade and then a breakdown of your thoughts?
Okay, so let me clarify. Letter grade on the draft specifically.
Yes, not the other news today that we will talk about.
Okay, all right. Draft specifically, I mean, considering what he had, I guess it was I would say like a B minus to a low B minus. I'll give him a B minus. I thought he did what he had to do. I'm glad that he didn't do anything crazy in the first round in terms of, taking a wide receiver or like a running back, a skill position player that, yes, it's sexy on paper, but with the way that free agency was, like we had a lot of holes to fill, and one of them was offensive line. When you don't re-sign Tyron Smith, you don't re-sign Tyler Biotish, you got to fill those spots. And to Jerry's credit, he got Tyler Guyton in the first round and got a third round pick that also um, resulted in another offensive lineman in Kupu Bibi. So, I mean, I think we started at 24. I was shocked that we even traded. because there was a guy that I wanted, which was Graham Barton. I liked him. I didn't think he was going to be available, to be honest, at 24 because I thought somebody like Miami or a team in that area would take him, but he somehow got to 24. And then, man, I still think if we got him, I would have felt a little bit better. But putting that aside, I feel like for Jerry to get kind of a 2-for-1 in a sense, you filled out your starting lineup with that trade on the offensive line. Not bad. That's not bad. Um, and then we got Marshawn Nealon, second round pick. Don't really know much about him at Western Michigan, but I saw a lot of comparisons. They were saying, a young Demarcus Lawrence. So hey, if that turns out, then great. But I really do think, this draft, and I don't want to be biased, but we did draft the local boy, Maris Lufau, Punahou grad, went to Notre Dame, plays linebacker. I saw a lot of mixed things on him, but I've seen his tape. He looks fast, and I think he can. I, Maybe I'm a little delusional, but he has the potential to be Fred Warner. That's the comparison I've seen. If he really hits the ceiling, he can be a Fred Warner type of player. So we needed a linebacker. We got one. I like that pick. And then the late round is kind of just filling in. We took a cornerback from Wake Forest, kind of the best available. Um, we got a receiver, fast receiver, kind of a gadget guy. So Jerry did all right. He did all right. But where I will say, I think we messed up a little bit is I think between round 1 through 7, I think we should have drafted a running back. That's just my opinion. That's why I'm saying it's a B minus. If not, I would say maybe B plus. But I still think the lack of a running back pick was a huge deduction for me in grade. But I think overall, considering, it's hard to say, right? I overreacted with that Tyler Smith thing. I've learned my lesson. I'm not gonna get delusional and say one guy is gonna be the next greatest thing, and then one guy's gonna be good, and then he turns out to be a bust. So I've learned my lesson. I'm gonna be patient and give these guys a chance to prove themselves a little bit. But initial thoughts, I would say like a B minus for me.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Um, Sticking on the draft though, before we get to some other news, uh, Miami, just really quick, a little bit interesting their approach. Um, but as I thought about it, a lot of developmental guys, Chop Robinson, Patrick Paul, you know, guys that are still kind of raw but have the physical trait. I'm actually okay with because we Ron Armstead is coming back, and you look at guys like Rob Hunt, Austin Jackson on our offensive line, who came in as rookies, didn't quite uh weren't really trending in the right direction necessarily. But once Mike McDaniel and his system came in, you really saw the growth and improvement of a lot of these players. So that's why I feel really good about a lot of these picks, just because of the success that the Dolphins have had in recent years in their player development and turning these athletes into really effective football players at their position. So happy about the first two picks, and then just more speed for Mike. He gets more toys to play with. Tennessee running back Jalen Wright, two
That's
receivers.
good pick.
Yeah, I really like that pick. Um, because the health of Raheem Mostert, he did stay healthy, majority of the year last year, but with him, Devon Achan, also, speed guy, but health was an issue. To have a third guy now, to be able to throw into the mix, I think it's a huge boost for that running back room. Depth wise, Mike doesn't have to necessarily give up on calling certain plays if Achan or Mostert can't go. So I think that's a good pick. And then just more receivers with speed to add to that system. Sounds like they're just going full force into the speed thing. So um, we know how that Miami offense likes to operate. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how training camp and OTAs go. But other than that, I would say I'm happy overall. Just not disappointed, which is the main thing with Miami's draft, right? Um, but let's get into some of the bigger storylines. Matt, obviously the quarterbacks kind of went in the first two pretty much how we expected. But man, let's just talk about the biggest shock of the draft. Like
Yeah.
I texted in our group chat how funny it would be if Atlanta took Michael Penix because it makes no sense, or just because it would be funny. Lo and behold, they go and do that, and I had a good laugh about it. You know, Atlanta fans, they were pretty mean to Marcus when he was there in Atlanta. So this is my kind of like, haha. Now this is your karma for being mean to him. Um, no, but all jokes aside, coming from a straight football perspective, Matt, like the rest of the football world outside of Atlanta, I guess if you want to say it, head scratching decision because of the Kirk Cousins contract. Like we said, $100 million guaranteed money. It's a 4-year deal. Michael Penix is already what 24 years old, I believe he's turning this year. So
He's older than Trey Lance.
not exactly a young prospect that you're looking to mold either because I think he's pretty pro ready. I had him third personally as my quarterback coming out of this draft just because I felt like he was pocket ready for the NFL. Or I mean maybe not pocket ready, but he's the pocket passer prototype, right? That you want in the NFL. And I literally said he's like a left-handed Kirk Cousins. So maybe I don't know if that's what Atlanta saw too.
They listen to the pod.
Yeah, right. I don't understand why um they necessarily went with that, but yeah, just really puzzling because Rome Odunze was right there. I mean, you could have gotten Latu from UCLA, who somehow slipped to the Colts at what 14 or something, which is ridiculous. Um, just so many different options they could have went. Still a lot of good offensive linemen on the board. Um, and you go with a quarterback who, you know, it's another thing though if they're trading up to get a Caleb Williams or a Jaden Daniels, who you really think is going to take your game to the next level. But Michael Penix, we kind of know what we're going to get out of him, for the most part. With the injury history, not to knock on him, but it is there, right? Both ACLs, or I mean ACL and shoulders, I believe. So it's like, what exactly is the game plan moving forward? How are you going to treat this whole situation? It is a very delicate situation, I think, if you're Atlanta. I hope they had a game plan, but they didn't inform Kirk about it as it was discussed. So I don't even know what to say, Matt, about Atlanta.
Yeah. I'm just as puzzled as I was when I initially saw the pick. I mean, I think we all were. The whole world was shocked when they announced Penix, but I'm still in shock because, you think about it and you try to think of a reason like, okay, what is their logic? What's their game plan here? But it gave me a little bit of like flashback with Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love situation, but like that's the only way I can see it playing out because Kirk's under contract for what, 4 years? Michael Penix is what, a first round pick. So he's got 4 years, fifth year option, and then new contract. So basically he's he's gonna be what theoretically he would play in his fifth year option. And then you got to decide is he the guy or not. So that's 1 year of playing time. I don't understand that. And then to your point, the age thing, the guy is older than Trey Lance. And Trey Lance has been in the league, it seems like, it's a few years already. But what is the logic here? Like, if you're gonna draft Michael Penix, and fine, if they want to draft Michael Penix, that's fine. If they were scouting him for months, I just don't understand why you would pay a quarterback $100 million in guaranteed money and then you draft a first round quarterback. And it's not like it's a Drake May, maybe a developmental type product. Like I think Penix, maybe him, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, like kind of guys that are experienced, you could say, played a lot. Even Jaden Daniels, they have a lot of playing time under their belt. So they're ready to take the torch already. So if you're gonna draft Penix, first off, why are you even signing Kirk Cousins in the first place? That makes no sense to me. And then I think what they should have done is you don't sign Kirk Cousins. You make it seem like you're going to go with Desmond Ridder as your quarterback. And then you wait to draft day and then you trade Ridder away. Maybe you get they get like a fourth round pick or something. So I think that's the way they should have approached it if they were all in on Penix. But I just don't understand. I really don't understand the logic of signing Kirk Cousins for that much money. It just makes no sense to me at all. I've tried to think of a reason, but I can't. I really can't. So I don't know, Atlanta. It's your problem, not mine.
Yeah, I mean, I even feel bad for Falcons fans at this point. I don't even know. But sorry, guys. That I'm glad I'm not a Falcons fan. I'd
Yeah, I'm
rather
not
be a
a yeah.
Dolphins fan,
So
honestly. Um, but anyway, uh, yeah, just to round out a couple ones, Matt, Buffalo had an interesting strategy, trading back, trading back, trading back. Not really sure what happened there. Um, Dallas Turner, I thought that was a pretty good pickup for Minnesota, helping to replace Daniel Hunter in that one. The Rams, I thought, had a pretty good draft.
hmm
Blake Corum, and they also get Fisk from Florida State, who had the crazy draft day, right? Um,
Yeah, they had
I
two
mean,
Florida
sorry,
State
the
linemen, I
combine.
think.
Yeah, Verse. Yeah, they went Verse and Fisk. So hey, look out for the Rams again next season, reloading with athletes once again. So other than that, though, I would say not to spend too much time on the draft. That's pretty much it. Um, but before we close NFL, Matt, big news out of Dallas today. Uh, your man, you already have a jersey for him ready to go. Feed Zeke is back in Dallas. A less enthusiastic meal, it would appear, for Dallas Cowboys fan. But hey, at least now you know, like, hey, Jerry did something. He didn't address it in the draft, but he was able to get a running back and one that, he's familiar with. So still not, is Zeke the number one? What are we doing here? Tony Pollard's gone. Uh,
I
we
don't
didn't
know.
get Derrick Henry. Oh, hey, Zeke, do you want to come back to Dallas? Sure, Jerry. I'd love to come back. Um,
You see,
yeah.
like this is why as Dallas fans, it's like I can't like you asked me about a grade. The draft was nice, but it's like,
There are a lot
I'm
of
trying to
running
see
backs there
I'm
too.
seeing yeah, like I'm trying to see the whole picture and it's like the free agency is just killing me at this point. Like mentally, it's like it sucks to be a Dallas fan right now. Um, Nothing against Zeke. I mean, I love what he did. Honestly, he was maybe my second favorite player in his glory days behind Des Bryant. But it's just past his time, and running backs get old, so be it. And he just after those 3 years, he had a good run. It just didn't work out, in the latter part of the contract. But where really just struggling, if I'm trying to think like Jerry Jones, is I believe he didn't want to pay even Zach Moss. I'll even start with Zach Moss. So Zach Moss signed, I believe it was 2 years, $8 million. That's an average of $4. Simple math, $4 a year for Zach Moss. And he looked pretty damn good last year in his playing time. Ezekiel Elliott, we signed him for, let's see, I think it's 2 million, could be three. We also signed Royce Freeman. I just don't understand that signing too. And it makes no sense to me because Why do you need Royce Freeman and Ezekiel Elliott? You just need one of those in the first place. And then you got a 5'5" guy at running back and Deuce Vaughn. Maybe he can turn out. I think he has a role, but obviously he's not going to be a bell cow. I think he would be like a Darren Sproles, a passing game, third down kind of back. But, Rico Dowdle re-signed him for a couple million. So, I'm just adding these totals up and it's like, really? We couldn't pay Zach Moss 4 million? And then what's really going to kill us if we sign Derrick Henry? Derrick Henry signed 2 years, 16 million. I honestly think Derrick Henry would have signed for a cheaper contract than that if he went to Dallas. He wanted to come to Dallas. He was waiting for a phone call from Dallas. I think he would have signed, honestly, a 1 year deal. You maybe make it $8-9 million for a year. Is that really gonna hurt if you add up the totals? So you're giving an extra, let's say, $3 million in your running back market to have Derrick Henry in your backfield. So you could have had Derrick Henry. Let's say hypothetically you have Derrick Henry, Malik Davis. I'll say Deuce Vaughn, and then you draft the undrafted free agent versus the scraps that we have now. Like that makes no like I just don't understand it. I really don't. And Zeke in particular, Derrick Henry aside, it's the signing of Royce Freeman that just doesn't make sense to me. Like you sign Royce Freeman and then you sign Zeke Elliott a couple days later. It's kind of the same result. You're not expecting Zeke to be a workhorse. He's gonna be short yardage, get the tough yards, pass block, which he's great at. But we can't have two plow horses in the backfield and we're stuck at 2nd and 8 every time. That's setting up Dak for failures. So just the running back room, I'm struggling with the mix of running backs that we have. I don't think there's a lot of diversity in their games, to be honest, outside of maybe Deuce Vaughn. Rico Dowdle, I haven't even seen him catch a pass, to be honest. Maybe he can catch screens a little bit, but he's probably the best we got. So I don't know. Kind of sad day. Bittersweet, but sad day. You know what? I mean, they can just throw a reunion. They can sign Des Bryant back. We can sign Terrence Williams back. We can sign Travis Frederick out of retirement. Maybe Leighton Vander Esch can come sign a 1 day contract, play for us. It's like you can't tell me you're all in and you bring back Ezekiel Elliott. That makes no sense to me, Jerry. And should I
Well,
say Jerry Jones or Joe Biden? I don't know. How about that? I don't know. The dude said we're
oh
the 24th best team in the NFL, or because we're the 24th pick. Like, no, that's not how the draft works,
yeah,
Jerry.
I'll
So
say
the
it was a
so the
rough.
Bears were the first pick, but they're the best team in the NFL because they have the first pick. Nah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'd say it was
Moron.
a rough speaking week for older males that started with the letter J. It was a rough week, uh, speaking wise. So, um, but yeah, anyway, I think that's good to wrap on the NFL for now. Do you want to talk about baseball really quick? I guess we could just say both our teams are doing pretty good right now. Even though, I mean, well, the Yankees came up. I know you guys split with the A's, probably not ideal, but 15 runs in back-to-back games. I don't know how today's. Oh, you guys lost
We
today
got
though
shut out, so it's like
to
okay.
Baltimore. So yeah, it's
That's a
kind
big
of the up
series
and
for
down.
us. Big series for
Yeah.
us. As of today, we're tied with Baltimore for the division. Still got 3 more games in that series. So if we can, I mean, if we get 3 out of 4, that's great. But even a split, honestly, will do. You still keep the lead after this series. So
hmm
we'll see. But I'm glad Aaron Judge is starting to show signs of life slowly. So if he can keep it going, man, hopefully we can take off at some point. But yeah, I'm not going to overreact. We're tied for first. Let's win against Baltimore.
Yeah. And I'll just say I'm surprised the Dodgers have a 4 game lead already in the division. I thought it was gonna be really close, but it's kind of the battle of mid for the rest of the NFC West right now. Um, you know, the Giants, Padres, and Diamondbacks all under 500 at the current moment. So
Must be
nothing but
nice.
yeah, nothing but good vibes for me right now. Dodgers finally got back on track. They went on a nice little 6 game win streak, lost to the Blue Jays, but got back in the win column today. So feeling pretty good. And I'm hearing Walker Bueller is making rehab starts. So if he's able to come back, the sooner the better. I'll be all the more happy. So yeah, quick baseball today, Matt, because I know it's a long pod. So let's finally get to our final quick hitters and do our foolish fool. We already mentioned him, but why
Yeah.
don't you just take it away with that?
I'll just say it for the name. I'll keep it short. I just talked about him. The foolish fool is none other than Gerald Wayne Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, the worst GM in the league right now, signing guys that claiming we're all in, but I already said the ramble. Jerry Jones, you're gonna be on this list for many weeks, for however long we do this podcast. For however long you own the Cowboys, you're gonna be on this list for a lot of appearances. So get used to it. You're the foolish fool of the week this week.
Okay. State of the 808, Matt. Just wanted to hit on our Hawaii drafted, or I guess Hawaii ties, players in the NFL draft. Starting off with Mr. Roman Wilson, national champion, coming from Michigan. I think a really, really good place for him. He lands in Pittsburgh with arguably one of our favorite coaches
Tomlin.
in the NFL with Mike Tomlin. And, you know, coming from Michigan, with that gritty culture that Jim Harbaugh kind of established there, I think it's a match made in heaven for both Roman Wilson and the Steelers. Steelers getting a guy who he ran a 4.39, so he has the speed, but he's also I saw someone saying the anti Deontay Johnson, where more going back to almost the Hines Ward-esque days where he's not afraid to block. He's gonna get up in the defender's face. He's not afraid to go do the dirty work, you could say, but not just catching passes, which he can also do. Um, so good for Roman there. The second one, like you already addressed, Dallas Cowboy now, Maris Liufau, from Punahou. I mean, hey, I didn't hear the Fred Warner report, but that would be insane if he could somehow live up to that hype.
Well, that's us Cowboys
Um,
fans being delusional and hopeful.
right, right, right. And then the last guy was at UH, but Darius Muasau picked up by the New York Giants in the 6th round. So congrats to him. Looks like transferring out of UH was the right decision after all for Darius. Can't blame him after the whole Todd Graham situation unfolded there, right? But good for him. Hopefully he can find a spot on an NFL roster. Um, and hopefully you can maybe you'll be seeing a little bit of Darius this season, Matt, on your TV if he's able to make the
Mm.
roster and stay on the Giants. But we'll see. But always, congrats to those guys. Keeping the Hawaii bloodline in the NFL going. So that's it for that. Matt, why don't you round us out with our sports fact of the day?
All right, we're recording on April 29th, and we'll go back to 1986 for the NFL draft. I think everybody who follows sports knows this name, but the Atlanta Falcons, or no, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, excuse me, selected Auburn running back Bo Jackson with the first pick. Maybe the best two-sport athlete of all time. I don't know, but he was the first pick back in 1986 by the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Okay, well, sounds good. Yeah, it was a long pod, Matt. We had the Lakers, we had the draft. It is what it is. No more Lakers talk for me until next season. So at least I got to get it all out, or at least until the free agency kicks off, because that'll be fun. But yeah, thanks everyone for sticking around. That was a long one. As usual, though, have a good week. Stay safe, and we'll see you guys next week.